Welcome to Study Loop.
So with this problem, we're asked to consider a body-centered cubic cell and to think about the packing efficiency of that cell. So when we think about packing efficiency, we are talking about the percentage of space taken up by the atoms. Because you can imagine when you have a unit cell, and you have these atoms clumped together, even if you're efficiently packing them together, there's going to be some spaces in between these atoms. And these spaces within the context of the unit cell are what we're talking about in terms of our efficiency. So more or less, we're talking about the percentage of the cell that's actually taken up by the atom itself. And because we're talking about a body-centered cubic cell, we know that there are 2 atoms per cell. So the first thing that we need to consider is, well, what's the area that's going to be taken up by these atoms, the volume that's going to be taken up by these atoms? So we know that the volume of a sphere, we're just going to assume that the atoms are spheres at this point, is 4/3 pi r cubed. And if we have 2 atoms per cell, we're just going to multiply that by 2. We're going to keep thinking about these for the purpose of the flow through the problem. We're not going to actually do number calculations until the end. I want you to think about this a little bit more abstract. So now let's think about the area of the cube, the whole unit cell, if you will. So we know that the edge length of a body-centered cubic cell is 4r over the square root of 3. We know that the area of a cube is simply the edge length cubed. So we know that the edge length cubed is set up like so, which means that we can simplify this a little bit. I am still going to keep these fractions separate. We can pull this r cubed out here. So to get our packing efficiency, we're going to take the volume of our atoms and divide that by the volume of the cell. So if we do this in a more straightforward manner, we say the percent filled is equal to our volume of our atoms. So 2 times 4 over 3 pi r cubed. And we divide that by the area of the cube. Now I'm going to rearrange this term just a little bit to make it a little bit easier to see how we can cancel a bunch of things out here. So since we're cubing, forgot a cube sign there. Since we're cubing this whole fraction here, we can break this up and bring out a 16 as well as a square root of 3 and leave in 4/3. The reason we do that is because it makes it a little bit easier in terms of the math we're doing for this problem, because we have 4/3 in the numerator and the denominator. We can also actually cancel out the length of the radii, which is why this equation is uniform for all types of unit cells that have this body-centered form. So now if we do our percent filled calculation using 2 pi square root of 3 divided by 16, this is where we get our classic percent filling in a body-centered cubic cell of 68%.